In Aremo village, they say the ancestors speak loudest when we refuse to listen. They whisper first in dreams, then in signs, and finally, if we're too stubborn to hear, they send a stranger to shout the truth we've been avoiding. On the morning that would change everything, Kemi Adebayo sat perfectly still while her aunties painted her lips the color of ripe berries, unaware that in 3 hours' time, a woman carrying a baby would walk into her wedding and reveal why her fiancé had been meeting strange men in the dead of night. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me tell you how a bride in full wedding regalia ended up thanking the woman who destroyed her wedding day. The morning sun had barely kissed the red earth of Aremo when preparations began. Kemi, 25 and radiant, was the daughter of Chief Adebayo, a man whose palm oil business had built half the schools in the region. She wasn't just beautiful. She was educated, having studied at the university in Lagos before returning home to help manage her father's accounts. 3 years ago, she'd met Tun at the New Yam Festival. He was everything a mother prayed for in a son-in-law. Tall, well-spoken, with a shipping business that connected Aremo to ports across Nigeria. At 29, he had the kind of smile that made elderly women nudge their unmarried daughters forward and the kind of bank account that made fathers nod approvingly. "Kemi, stop fidgeting," her Aunt Sidi commanded, weaving gold thread through her elaborate Gelly head wrap. "Today you become Mrs. Tunbekere. The whole village will be watching." Kemi forced herself to remain still, but her mind raced back to last night's discovery. She'd gone to the back of the compound to get fresh air, unable to sleep from wedding excitement. That's when she'd heard Tun's voice, urgent and angry, coming from behind the palm trees. After the wedding, he'd hissed to someone, "You'll get your money after the wedding. The Adebayo family is wealthy. The bride price alone will cover it." Before she could hear more, her sister Funk had called for her, and the voices vanished into the night like smoke. Kemi, her mother, Mama Adebayo, entered the hut, resplendent in her purple asoebi. She studied her daughter's face with the kind of intuition only mothers possess. "What troubles you on this blessed day?" "Nothing, Mama, just wedding nerves." Her mother sat beside her, adjusting Kemi's coral beads, a family heirloom worth more than most people's houses. "My daughter, marriage in Aremo is not just decoration and dancing. It's a covenant before God and our ancestors. If something is wrong, now is the time to speak." But before Kemi could respond, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a gut feeling so strong it made your skin crawl? Tell us in the comments below. And if you're new to our channel, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Across the village, in the Bekere compound, Tun stood surrounded by his groomsmen, looking every inch a successful businessman in his azure bata with gold embroidery. His best friend Jide watched him closely. They'd known each other since primary school, and Jide could read Tun like a book. "Brother, you keep checking your phone," Jide observed quietly. "And who was that man I saw leaving your place at dawn? The one with the scar?" Tun's jaw tightened. "Business associate. Nothing important." "On your wedding day?" "Jide, leave it alone." But Jide noticed how Tun's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his feeler cap. He noticed the way Tun kept glancing toward the main road, as if expecting someone or dreading their arrival. Meanwhile, the village square had transformed into a wonderland of color and celebration. The massive Irako tree at its center had been decorated with white and gold fabric, its ancient branches providing shade for the hundreds of guests already arriving. The aroma of jollof rice, pounded yam, and roasted goat filled the air. 3 different musical groups were setting up: the traditional drummers, a high-life band, and even a DJ for the younger guests. Chief Adebayo stood with a council of elders, 5 men whose combined wisdom had guided Aremo through droughts, elections, and everything in between. Elder Musa, the oldest at 93, leaned on his walking stick and surveyed the preparations. "A good match," he declared. "The Bekere boy will take care of our Kemi." If only he knew what was coming. At exactly noon, the talking drums began their ancient rhythm, calling the village to witness. Women ululated, their voices rising like birds taking flight. Children in matching asoebi outfits scattered flower petals along the path from the Adebayo compound to the square. Then, like a vision from a Nollywood film, Kemi emerged. She moved with practiced grace. Her steps synchronized with the drum beats. Her wrapper, a stunning combination of emerald green and gold, caught the light with every movement. The photographer hired from the city was having the time of his life, his camera clicking rapidly. But those who knew Kemi well, her sister Funk, her childhood friend Beezy, they saw what others missed. The slight tension in her shoulders, the way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, the way she kept scanning the crowd as if looking for something or someone. When Kemi reached the decorated area under the Irako tree, Tun was waiting. For a moment, when their eyes met, she saw the man she'd fallen in love with, charming, confident, devoted. Then something flickered across his face. Was it guilt? Fear? Elder Musa stepped forward, his voice still strong despite his age. We gather here, in the presence of our ancestors and under the watchful eye of the Almighty, to join two families in sacred union. Marriage is not a small thing. It is the foundation of our community, the garden where future generations are planted. The crowd murmured their agreement. Tun, son of Bakir, you stand here as a man ready to take a wife. But I ask you, and you must answer truthfully, for the ancestors see all, do you come with clean hands and a pure heart? Tun stepped forward, his voice clear and strong. Yes, Elder, I come with clean hands and a pure heart. I am ready to make Kemi my wife, to protect and provide for her all my days. But even as he spoke, Kemi noticed something that made her blood run cold. At the edge of the gathering, partially hidden behind a group of young men, stood a woman she'd never seen before. Young, perhaps her age, holding a baby wrapped in a white shawl. The woman was staring at Tun with an expression of such raw pain that Kemi felt in her own chest. Elder Musa turned to Kemi. And you, Kemi, pride of the Adebayo family, flower of Aremo village, do you accept this man as your husband? Will you stand by him through seasons of plenty and want? The entire village held its breath. This was the moment. Kemi's mouth opened, but no words came. Her eyes were locked on the strange woman with the baby, the woman who had started walking forward, pushing through the crowd with desperate determination. Kemi began. Stop. The word exploded across the square like thunder. Everyone turned as the woman with the baby stumbled into the ceremonial circle, tears streaming down her face. Please, you have to stop this wedding. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but you have to know the truth. Can you imagine being in Kemi's shoes right now? Your wedding, hundreds of guests, and a stranger appears with a baby. What would you do? Let us know in the comments. And if you're gripped by this story, please hit that like button. It really helps us reach more people with these important tales. The drum stopped so abruptly, it was like the world had lost its heartbeat. Tun's face turned the color of ash. The scarred man Jide had seen that morning suddenly melted back into the forest. Chief Adebayo stepped forward, his voice commanding. Woman, who are you? What is the meaning of this invasion? The woman fell to her knees, clutching her baby. My name is Folek. I come from Ibra village, 2 days' journey from here. And this man, she pointed at Tun with a shaking finger, is my husband. The crowd erupted. Women gasped. Men shouted. Children were quickly ushered away from what was clearly about to become very adult business. She's lying. Tun's voice cracked like a whip. I don't know this woman. But Folek was already pulling something from her bag. Our marriage certificate, she said, holding up the paper. Signed 18 months ago at the registry in Ibra. Traditional wedding done under the mango tree, with both our families present. She pulled out her phone, swiping to show photos. Here's our wedding. Here's Tun with my father. Here's him signing the register. Jide stepped forward and took the phone, his face growing darker with each photo he saw. Brother, this is you. This is definitely you. Chief Bakir, Tun's father, snatched the phone, studied it, and aged 10 years and 10 seconds. Tun, what have you done? But Folek wasn't finished. 6 months ago, he told me his business was struggling. He needed to travel for a big contract. He's been gone for 5 months. I gave birth to our son alone. She unwrapped the baby slightly, revealing a tiny face that was unmistakably Tun's. The same nose, the same chin. His name is David, 3 months old. His father has never held him. Kemi felt her legs turn to water. Her aunties rushed to support her, but she pushed them away, finding strength in her anger. "The money," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Last night, you were talking about money, about getting it after the wedding." Tun's carefully constructed facade finally crumbled. He fell to his knees, not in proposal this time, but in defeat. "I had debts," he whispered. "Gambling debts. To dangerous people. They threatened my family, my father's business. When I met Kemi, I thought I could marry her, use the bride price to pay them off, then figure something out. I was going to send money to Faux Lake. I swear, I never meant to abandon them completely." Elder Moose's walking stick struck the ground with the force of thunder. "You stood before the ancestors and lied? You were prepared to commit bigamy? To deceive this innocent woman and her family?" "The scarred man," Jide spoke up. "He's one of them, isn't he? The people you owe money to. He was here to make sure the wedding happened." Tun nodded miserably. Chief Adebayo's voice was deadly quiet. "How much?" 5 million naira. The crowd gasped. It was more than most of them would see in a lifetime. What happened next would be talked about in Aremo for generations. Chief Adebayo, instead of exploding in anger, walked over to Faux Lake and helped her to her feet. "My dear, you've traveled far with a baby. You must be exhausted. Mama Adebayo, please take this woman and her child to our home. Give them food and a place to rest." Then he turned to Tun, and his voice could have frozen fire. "You are no longer welcome in Aremo. Your father and I will discuss the return of all gifts exchanged. As for your debts, that's between you and your creditors. But you will leave now, and you will never come near my daughter again. And my wife," Tund asked, his voice small. "What about my marriage?" Elder Musa spoke gently. "That is for the elders of your village to decide, my child. But any marriage built on such deception, it may be considered void." As Tun was led away by his shame-faced groomsmen, Kemi stood in the center of the square, still in her wedding finery, feeling like she was watching someone else's life from very far away. The guests began to disperse, unsure where to offer condolences or congratulations for a disaster avoided. Faux Lake approached her hesitantly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know I've ruined everything, but I couldn't let him do this to another woman. When I heard about this wedding from a traveling merchant, I had to come." Kemi looked at this woman, brave enough to travel for 2 days with an infant, brave enough to face public humiliation to speak the truth, and felt an unexpected kinship. "You saved me," Kemi said simply. "Thank you." The two women stood there for a moment, connected by the man who betrayed them both, while the ancient Irako tree watched over them like a patient grandfather. This story is far from over. If you want to know what happens to Kemi next, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. And please share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who might be ignoring their instincts about a relationship. The scandal of the failed wedding had finally died down, replaced by newer gossip in Aremo. Kemi had thrown herself into her father's business, expanding their online presence and doubling their profits in just 6 months. She'd also started a support group for women, where they share their experiences and learn to trust their instincts. Faux Lake had returned to her village, where the elders had indeed annulled her marriage. Last Kemi heard, she was training to become a nurse, her family rallying around her and baby David. As for Tund, he'd been forced to face his creditors. His father had paid part of the debt to save the family name, but Tund now worked on the fishing boats in Port Harcourt, sending every kobo he earned back to repay his father. One evening, as Kemi reviewed spreadsheets in her father's office, there was a knock at the door. It was Jide, Tund's former best friend. "Kemi, good evening. I hope I'm not disturbing you." She looked up, surprised. They'd barely spoken since the wedding disaster. "Jide, what brings you here?" He shifted nervously. "I came to apologize. I suspected something was wrong with Tund, but I didn't push hard enough. If I had been a better friend, maybe I could have prevented all that pain." Kemi studied him. In the months since the wedding, she'd heard things about G-Day. How he'd personally returned all the gifts Tund had received. How he'd sent money to Folake for the baby. How he'd cut ties with Tund completely, refusing to enable his friend's deception. "You can't take responsibility for another person's choices," she said finally. "But I appreciate the apology." G-Day nodded, started to leave, then turned back. "Kemi, I know this might seem forward, but there's a business conference in Lagos next month about digital marketing for agricultural products. I remembered you studied business, and I thought maybe you'd be interested? As colleagues, nothing more. I could introduce you to some contacts who might help expand your father's business internationally." Kemi raised an eyebrow. "Just business?" "Just business," G-Day confirmed, though his eyes suggested he wouldn't mind if it became something more someday. No pressure, no expectations. Just one entrepreneur helping another. 2 years passed. The conference in Lagos had led to 3 major contracts for the Adebayo palm oil business. G-Day had been true to his word. Professional, respectful, never pushing for more than Kemi was ready to give. But slowly, through late-night business calls that turned into conversations about life, through shared meals that were supposedly about discussing export strategies, through the way he remembered how she took her coffee and never forgot to ask about her sister's university exams, Kemi began to see him differently. He wasn't charming in the way Tund had been. No grand gestures or smooth words. But he was consistent, honest. He told her when her business ideas were impractical, celebrated when she proved him wrong, and never once made her success seem like a threat to his ego. You know, her mother said one day, watching G-Day help Chief Adebayo repair the generator, "That young man has been coming here for 2 years now. Always helpful, always respectful. Never asked for anything in return. Mama, please, we're business partners." And I suppose that's why you spent an hour choosing what to wear to your business meeting yesterday. The truth was, Kemi had begun to feel something. Not the desperate, consuming fire she felt with Tund, but something steadier, like a candle that burned consistently, providing warmth and light without threatening to burn the house down. One evening, as they reviewed contracts in her office, G-Day suddenly put down his pen. "Kemi, I need to say something, and if it ruins our partnership, I'll understand. But I can't keep pretending." Her heart skipped. "G-Day, I'm in love with you," he said simply. "I have been for over a year. I've watched you rebuild yourself after Tund's betrayal. Watched you become this incredible force in business. Watched you help other women find their strength. And every day, I fall a little more in love with who you are." He stood up. "I'm not asking you to feel the same way. I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. But I needed you to know you deserve someone who sees you clearly and chooses you completely. If you ever decide you're ready to try again, I'm here. And if not, I'll still be your business partner and friend." Kemi sat there, stunned, as he gathered his papers to leave. Then she heard her mother's voice in her memory. The ancestors don't whisper warnings without reason. But sometimes she realized they also whisper encouragements. G-Day, wait. 1 year later, under the same Irako tree where her world had fallen apart, Kemi stood in wedding attire once again. But everything was different this time. The gathering was smaller, only close family and friends. She'd insisted on no elaborate ceremonies, no excessive displays. But what it lacked in grandeur, it made up for in genuine joy. When Elder Musa asked if she accepted G-Day as her husband, her yes rang out clear and certain. No doubts. No whispers of warning from her ancestors. No strange women lurking at the edges of the crowd. Among the guests sat Folake, whom Kemi had personally invited. They become friends over the years, bonded by the shared experience and mutual respect. Baby David, now almost 3, played with the other children, blissfully unaware of how his existence had saved a woman from a terrible mistake. As the drums played and the village celebrated, Kemi danced with her husband. Her real husband, the one who had earned her trust day by day, choice by choice. "Thank you for waiting," she whispered to G-Day. "Thank you for being worth the wait," he replied. Chief Adebayo watched his daughter with satisfaction. "You know, He told his wife, "Sometimes the ancestors allow us to stumble so we can learn the difference between falling and flying." And as the sun set over Aremo village, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple, Kemi understood that her first wedding disaster hadn't been an ending. It had been a beginning, the beginning of her journey to finding herself, her strength, and eventually the love she truly deserved. What a journey we've been on together. Now we want to hear from you. Have you ever had a gut feeling that saved you from a bad situation? How would you have reacted in Kemi's position? Do you believe in second chances at love after betrayal? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We read every single one and often feature the best stories in our community posts. If this story touched your heart or taught you something valuable, please hit that like button. Subscribe and ring the notification bell for more African stories. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, your instincts are your ancestors speaking. Trust them. They see what your eyes might miss and know what your heart tries to deny. Until next time, this is your reminder that every ending is just a beginning in disguise. Thank you for spending these 30 minutes with us in Aremo village.